Good morning, everyone. This is Lonnie once again. Today I want to talk about something a little different, and something about how I feel about why at least I have suffered like I have for these last 40 years or better. Before I went to CRC, before I finally became diagnosed with anxiety, I was angry with God. More descriptively, I was pissed off. I could not understand why I was like I was. And this particular evening, I was walking home, and I was hollering at God. I thought I was embarrassed because I thought maybe people would see me, but however, I was hollering at God, and I thought, why am I like this? Why have you done this to me? What is it in your plan that I have to be like this? I'm no good to myself. I'm no good to anyone else. Tell me something. Explain it to me. Well, later that evening, when I laid down on the couch to go to sleep, I was reminded of the story. I'm familiar with the story in the Bible. Now, if you guys are turned off by the Bible, I'm not a Bible thumper, so bear with me. But Paul, who wrote 2/3 of the New Testament, said that he had an affliction, a thorn in his side, he called it. And he had asked God on 3 occasions to remove it from him. And God did not. He said, my grace is sufficient for you, but I think sufficient for thee. But aware of this story, something came over me, and that night as I laid down, I prayed to God, and I said, Father, if there's something in your plan, although I cannot see it on my own, if there's something in your plan that will help someone else, that if somebody can be helped by me being like this, if I have to suffer like this in order to help somebody else, then I'll accept it. I accept this, and I will grit my teeth, and I will bear it the absolute best I can. And I'll bear it, and that's what I said. Well, the next morning, this local radio show that I listened to had a story on there that was out of character for the particular show. This story had been on the Today Show that morning, which would be again January of last year. This guy was in Canada, beaver trapping, and he was going out. He was riding an ATV. He would go to one beaver trap and get the beaver out the next and next. Well, he had polio as a child. He had a bum leg, and the ATV turned over and pinned him by his good legs. And now he's stuck out in the Canadian wilderness with an ATV on his good leg and nothing but dead beavers around him. He skinned one, covered himself with it to avoid hypothermia. He was eating the rotted beaver flesh, and his only source of liquids was he had a ribbon or a string of some sort that the frost would get on at night, and he would just suck it off of that. But he was out there for 4 days, 96 hours. And another gentleman who did quite a bit of hiking, but never in that particular area, said that he heard something was telling him to go hiking in that particular area. Now, of course, y'all know the story. He went hiking there, found the guy, saved his life. Now, this gentleman refused to be interviewed on the Today Show, but he said that he firmly believed that was God telling him to go up there, which that's a great story in itself. But in this particular case, the gentleman in question was a devout atheist. And at that moment it struck me that what God had done was use this man's suffering for no apparent reason to the man that was suffering. He had no idea what was going on, but God had used his suffering to bring someone else to him. And that, in my situation at least, struck me hard. Well, after I went to CRC and the medication they gave me began to work and the anxiety lifted off of me, and at least at that time I thought it was gone for good, I was reminded of another story in the Bible. Now, everyone is familiar with the story of Jesus calming the seas. Jesus calmed the waters. Well, what happened there is they were here and they needed to be there. And in order to get where they needed to go, they had to cross the Sea of Galilee. Now, when they did so, a storm came up, a vicious storm, and to the extent of everyone thought they were going to die. I mean, they didn't think they were going to pull through. So they called on Jesus. and he was asleep in the bottom of the boat. He'd just fallen asleep during the storm because he said, we're going there. He knew they was going to get there. So he calmed the seas. Now, this is a whole other story, but, you know, Jesus had such inner peace that he was able to impose it on his surroundings and calm the storm. Now, when they got to the other side, the first thing that they did was Jesus cast demons out of the man in the graveyard. So that struck me. I realized then that when they got to the other side, when they had survived this storm, they were not only in a new geographical location, but they were in a new spiritual location to be able to help someone else. Now, that is where I am. That is where we all should be as we get on the back side of this thing. If we see light at the end of the tunnel. If the things that we've gone through and the things that we have done, now you've heard me mention in other videos, I'm a firm believer in if you haven't walked the walk, you can't talk the talk. Now we as survivors, if you will, of this horrendous disease, we are in a unique position to speak with others and to communicate with them on a one-on-one level that non-sufferers cannot. So if we can help other people, our suffering wasn't in vain. And when you help other people, when you have someone understand what you're saying, and it's a feeling that you just cannot get any other way, and it's a special feeling, it's a great feeling. So like I said, those of us who are seeing light at the end of the tunnel, to help other people. There's one more part of this story. Although Paul's thorn in his flesh was not removed, he said that now he boasted about his weakness, because in his weakness God was strong. And I'm in the same position. When I first found out I had anxiety, I was ashamed. Now that I'm on the backside of it, I boast about it. I will talk openly and freely with anyone that wants to hear, and I will tell them anything that happened, or any feeling that I had, or any thought that I had. If in the case that it might help, I'm not ashamed at all. If my suffering can help someone else, then it does me good. So like I said, this is my thoughts on the matter. This is a tough thing, and you know, we stick together. We've got to stick together, because if you do not suffer from anxiety, you do not understand what we go through, and that is just simple as you can put it. You cannot understand. It's like you cannot understand how big a hole the Grand Canyon is unless you've seen it. So anyway, guys, there it is. There's another video. As always, you know, leave me some feedback. You know, if there's any questions that you have, anything you'd like to see me do a video on, anything at all, just let me know, and I'll do the best I can to help anyone that I can. So there you have it, guys. God bless, and have a nice day.